Welcome once again to Chelan County Connection. I'm your host, Randy Rhodes. Today, our guest, Chelan County Budget Director Nicole Thompson. Hello, Nicole.
Hi, Randy.
Welcome to the program today. I know you're going into a very busy time with our 2024 budget coming up, but before we get to specifics on that, you're relatively new to this new position, but you're not new to the county. Let's talk about your work with the Chelan County Regional Justice Center.
Yes, I worked for the jail for almost 5 years before getting into this position and was the business manager over there doing all of the financial aspects.
So your position is actually new with Chelan County. Tell us a little bit about your job, Nicole.
Well, this is a new position that was developed. And as you said, it will be my busy season. I will be working on rolling this budget all into one, whether it be getting all of the funds within the general fund all put together and rolling in the additional funds, whether just our outside funds. And at the same time, I'll be part of all of the budget hearings and reviewing all of the requests with the commissioners and discussing possible cuts if need be. Part of this position is also looking at county software. We are working on purchasing software for budgeting and planning to make our budget cycle more efficient, as well as new financial software to keep track of all of our revenues and expenditures, and HR software.
So, Nicole, have you always been a numbers person?
Probably. I was in public accounting before this, and my father is a retired CPA. So I think I come by it honestly. I am not one to do fast math in my head, but I do like to work with spreadsheets and calculations, providing comparisons and what-if scenarios, as well as reviewing past transactions to help plan for the future.
Well, it's go time. Let's talk about the timeline for the 2024 budget.
All right. This budget cycle did start on July 11th. That is when we did the initial budget call. And that just allows our departments to enter their requested budgets into our accounting software so they can later be reviewed. We will then have budget hearings, and there's more to the process, but we look to adopt our budget in the beginning of December.
So what directly is up next?
Up next, we have had people already be able to turn in their requested budgets as well as narratives and their budget certificates. We are now looking to get all of that information compiled, and budget hearings will be at the beginning of October.
And I know we have a lot of this information available online, but what is Chelan County's current budget?
Current budget is $51.5 million, and that is for the general fund.
So let's talk about where the county gets funds.
Well, we get our funds from taxes as well as grants and interagency billings that are used for different departments, as well as fees that we charge to the public.
Kind of a two-parter here, Nicole. How much do we spend a year, and touch on our reserve fund, and what would you consider to be a healthy reserve?
Well, we do look for a balanced budget. So that balanced budget is still the 51.5. That's what we're looking to do, is try and keep ourselves from spending more than we bring in. But that reserve fund is there to help us cover any costs that we would want to in the next year. However, we don't use that reserve fund for long-term planning, as we need to keep that reserve for anything that may possibly come up. For a reserve, we do want to have, for good planning, about 6 months worth of expenditures. Now, we look at a good reserve for Chelan County as being about 10 million, and that's because there are things that can be cut back if we need to, and worst comes to worst, we're not bringing anything in. But that will definitely keep us with the necessary expenditures, such as wages, benefits, electricity, things such as that.
Chelan County Budget Director Nicole Thompson joining us this time out on Chelan County Connection. Wondering any concerns or indicators on the horizon right now for 2024?
Well, there is a portion of the budget that is always a little difficult to to figure out, and that is when we are in employment contract negotiations, and we currently are in those for a couple of the employment contracts. So we don't know what we're actually going to end up agreeing upon. So that one is always a little bit harder to navigate. However, we also, with the Microsoft build going on, we also do have the possibility of increased sales tax revenue for any of the materials that they purchase locally or have delivered to their site. That will increase our sales tax revenue. One of the things that we are seeing a reduction in is our recording fees, and that helps fund some of our outside programs, such as our housing program. But that is something that we have seen on the horizon, and therefore those programs are adjusting for that.
So, as citizens of Chelan County, why should we be interested in the budget?
Well, I think there are always questions what the county is spending money on, and staying in tune to that budget will allow you to see what programs are provided, what programs can be funded, and what can't, possibly why, and as well as knowing what your local government, your county, is putting the funds to use for. So, some of these fees are collected by the public, from the public. And so therefore, if you're wondering where your money is going, you should stay in tune to that budget.
As far as the budget process, how do we stay tuned to that?
Well, there was a resolution that was passed, and so all of the dates are part of that resolution, and that can always be found on the county's website. Budget hearings will be in October, and those will be in front of all three commissioners, so it will be a public meeting, and you can tune into those if you have any questions. And then once the budget is finalized, there is an online budget book that part of the software we are working on will be a more user-friendly budget book that you can look into a little more in depth. So you can check on there. And if you're looking at watching or listening into the budget hearings, it is October 4th through October 6th.
Any final thoughts or concerns as we turn our attention to the 2024 budget here?
At this point, no. I am excited to be part of this process and work with the other departments and the commissioners in getting it all rolled into one. And I just think it's very exciting. This is kind of my jam.
Well, I think it's very cool. And by the way, thank you so much for being on the program today. Our Chelan County Budget Director, Nicole Thompson, joining us. You're born and raised right here in the Wenatchee Valley. Let's talk about some of the things you love around here.
I love a lot of it. I love most of it. I love getting to have the 4 full seasons. Smoke is not one of my favorite ones, but that's okay. I enjoy getting to go boating and camping outdoors when the weather is nice, and our family is big into the hockey scene as well.
And tell us about your dog or your dogs.
Dogs. I have 2. I have a chocolate lab and a German short hair pointer mixed with lab. And they are still puppies, both under the age of 2. And they spend a lot of time on the boat with us and love it.
So I was going to ask if they enjoy going down to the Columbia River or an area lake like Lake Chelan.
They absolutely do. They love that. They love being on the rivers, the Icicle River, and even the Eniat. We travel up there, and the dogs love to play around.
And we know you're a youth soccer coach. How did you get into that? Did you play soccer? And tell us about your team.
Well, I did play soccer growing up till about high school. And so then I have a daughter that got into youth soccer. And when her coach moved on because her daughter decided to try new things, I stepped in as the coach. Currently, my daughter is on the Wenatchee FC club soccer team. And so I'm assistant coaching instead of head coaching, which is kind of nice.
Well, coaching any youth football, baseball, soccer, it's a tough job. It often goes unappreciated. So let me just say thank you for that contribution to the young minds and to our local community here.
Well, thank you. It is a lot of fun. The girls are quite hilarious.
Say, Nicole, is there anything else you'd like to add before we, let you go today?
I don't think so. I'm excited for this budget cycle and to get moving on it.
Well, congratulations to get moving on it. And again, we do thank you for joining us. Our Chelan County Budget Director, Nicole Thompson. Thank you so much for being our guest today on Chelan County Connection.
Thank you.